I really don't know anything at all about streaming, so I do apologise. It's taken me a little while to figure out if this is even working or not. And obviously there's going to be a tiny little bit of a delay as well. So if anyone can see this, bearing in mind that there is only going to be about 3 people here, let me know in the little chat box if you can. It looks like it's working. The encoding might not be perfect, so the frame rate might not be perfect. That's stuff that I still need to kind of figure out. I'm not very good with OBS or any kind of stream overlay. I've kind of just put this together, so, you know, it's not going to look perfect straight away. The whole reason that I decided it might be a fun idea to do a stream was essentially just because I can't do the podcast this week with Lloyd. Lloyd's quite busy. It looks like this is working, yeah. There's a few people giving me thumbs up and yep, so thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, this week Lloyd's quite busy, so I can't record the podcast with him, so I thought might as well try and still put something out at least, even if it's just myself. I know I'm not who people turn up to the podcast for, but I can still attempt something. We can still try something out. The podcast might still end up going online this week. It just might end up being the first one that we do with a guest instead of one of us two. So we'll see what happens. Whether or not something gets recorded tomorrow, I'll let you know for sure. I have a whole list of things that I wrote up that I could potentially talk about. I don't really find that very interesting though. I kind of find it a little bit more interesting when there's some kind of interaction or when it is actual questions that people are interested in. So if anyone has any ideas for what they want to talk about, or if anyone wants to phone in, so to speak, if you want to give me a message on Instagram or on Discord, and you can kind of just make a call to my phone. That's what we've got to work with at the moment, just because I haven't set up any kind of chat. I haven't set up any kind of call-in features or anything with OBS, so it just have to be through my phone at the moment, but I'm sure we could still make it work, even if it's just for a little while. Still just a few people here. I can't imagine that many people will be turning up. If you've had a little look at my YouTube channel, I've only ever uploaded a few videos. I use it to upload private videos, not in that sense, but I use it to upload videos that go on my Patreon, and then there's only ever a few public videos on there, so there's not too many subscribers, and the only other people that will have seen this will be in the Black Art Podcast Facebook group, or people who've seen it that I've posted on my Instagram. And Darren said, what scent is in your humidifier? If I remember correctly, it's lavender and something, but I can't remember what lavender and something it is. I do have the little bottle somewhere. Usually it's oud. That's super, super strong, and I really like strong scents, but I can't find my bottle. I think it's went down the side of the couch somewhere, 'cause flat's kind of messy at the moment. Whilst I am waiting for any questions, or, you know, if anyone is wanting to message on Discord or message on Instagram and call up or join in or anything or all like that, I can kind of just ramble on a little bit. I can tell you about some of the stuff that I've been working on lately, maybe, if that is of interest to anyone at all. I'm not sure if it is, but I'm assuming if you're watching this, then it might be. What I was working on today was something called Flightmare, which is what I'm hoping will be a kind of fun take on just the ring flight effect. I've always loved the effect. I've got a few different versions of it myself, but there's always been something a little bit more that I wanted from it. Many different versions provide, you know, a really nice reveal, or that they might change the moment that the disappearance happens, or there's a number of different things that they can mess about with, but there's never been one that's really clicked with me completely. So what I've been working on at the moment is kind of my little version of a ring flight. I haven't fully sussed out what the reveal is yet. like how the reappearance happens. I do have an idea of where I want to take it, but it's how the disappearance itself happens that is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a little bit more my style, and I've been having a little bit more fun with it when I've been testing it and stuff. So it would just use any kind of normal ring, obviously one that's borrowed, but the whole narrative around it would be more to do with what the ring is made out of. And it would take a kind of alchemical approach to things, you know, whether their answer was silver or gold or rose gold or, I don't know, platinum. I don't know what other things rings are made out of, as well as if there was something affixed to it, like a crystal or a diamond or whatever. It would take into account that, and you would be playing with that element narratively. Matt said, "Love seeing the player's handbook in the background." Yeah, there's a lot of random Dungeons and Dragons book knocking about because Magic and role playing games and stuff. So I'm not the coolest person in the world. So it would just start with any ring, but the narrative would be based around what the ring is made out of, and almost as if you are. This sounds weird. I haven't fully scripted it, but it would be around consuming the ring itself. So that's why that's the route the disappearance would take. So you would take the ring and place it into your palm, and you ignore that falling down the background, as if you've pushed it into your palm. And then when you show them, there's like an indentation, as if you have fully pushed the ring inside your skin or consumed it in some way. That's what the opening for it looks like, and this is something that I've done for a little while with coin vanishes and other ring vanishes, and all it stems from is literally just either like a 5p coin or any small coin, or just a ring of your own. And, you know, a minute before I perform the effect in my pocket, I'm just pushing it into my palm to create this weird circular indentation. And, you know, depending on how you perform the disappearance, the vanish, it can look really, really cool. Seeing this, going from seeing the ring to it appearing to have vanished, and then there's this weird mark in the palm of your hand. And that's what I've been playing around with today and yesterday. So that's the opening part of the effect, and then the way that the ring comes back has to be equally as weird. It has to be a little bit different than other ring flights. So that's what I've been experimenting with the super lately. That's what I've been playing with, as well as something called CRSP. So if anyone is in my Patreon page, The Real Underground, they might have saw an ebook that I uploaded over the past few days. I can't remember when it was, maybe like 3 days ago or so, called CRSP or CRISP. And that essentially is a reading system, but there's also an effect involved with it. It's a small effect. It's a very subtle effect, but the effect helps sell the reading, and the reading is a disguise for the effect. But what I've been working on is an additional 20 or 30 pages that go with that ebook, which will just be supplementary material, additional content that go a little bit more into the reading aspect of it, because I kind of created these 4 pillars that the reading is based on. And so I wanted to make sure that the first little booklet was really super streamlined, and make sure that it was, I don't know what the right word is. I just wanted it to be simple, like a really, really simple approach to reading. If people weren't into tarot and stuff like that, they could just pick up this tiny little booklet and think to themselves, yeah, I could do that. There's 3 or 4 things that I could say that give the appearance of a decent reading, and hopefully it accomplished that. I think that the additional content will, if you enjoyed it will definitely further your enjoyment, and it'll open up a few more doors in terms of the readings. It includes Barnum statements and a couple of different things, as well as an additional aspect to the routine, so you can expand the effect. Rupert Dickinson. Oh, Rupert, I'm a big fan of you, Rupert. It always makes me happy whenever you send me a message. Do you have a strange mystical take on mnemonic stack effects? I'm always interested in your style overlaid on more traditional effects. Well, that's really, really nice of you to say, Rupert, so I do appreciate that. I will be honest with you, I am awful with stack work. It's only recently that I've been trying to get into any kind of stack work. So there are a few small effects I have. Mostly I've been playing with, I don't know if anyone knows what these are. This is from Dean James, and there was someone else involved with it. I can't remember the name of the other guy, unfortunately. But it's a really, really cool stack deck that involves... It gives off the appearance of like mathematical genius. So there's a bunch of things involved in it where it makes it look like you can count super fast or remember things really fast. And that leans into a separate side of mnemonic, which I was quite interested in. I didn't think it would be something I was interested in, but I've really been enjoying, going through the tutorials for it and stuff. In terms of just effects, I'm not too sure if I've ever put together anything specifically for mnemonica. No. It's a flaw in my character. I'm only recently getting into stack work. Obviously, I've used stacks for plenty of other things. I'm a big fan of simple stacks, and I've created some of my own kind of stacks. And if anyone has watched Lloyd Barnes' Razor stack, I'm very, very comfortable with that. But I haven't really created too many effects that involve them, no, not yet. I'm hoping to soon. I'm not much of a playing card man, although some of the effects that I've created with playing cards, people seem to enjoy. So, Matt, D&D makes you way cooler, by the way. Can't wait for more on Chris. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You're a man after my own heart. I'm a big fan of D&D. I think anyone who listens to me on the podcast, whether that's my podcast or the podcast I do with Lloyd, or has watched any other videos with me, knows that I am just an absolute story whore. The chance to shape any kind of narrative is big in my heart. It means a lot. So, being a dungeon master or even a player it's always the most fun for me, anything like that. And Paul says, side note, is the yellow thing a vape? It is. Unfortunately, I'm one of those guys, but it has stopped me from smoking the past couple of years, so I'll give it that. And Rupert says, I need to teach you my Mind Palace. You do, Rupert. I messaged you about this a while back. If you're down for it, I would love to do one of the small little episodes, like one of the audio tapes that I put out on my Patreon, about your approach to Mind Palaces, because I'd love to share my approach with you as well. I have this whole weird thing that's to do with time. So when I try and recall things, when there are specific things that I need to file away, I've got this little log cabin that's based on a log cabin I visited years and years ago in Norway. And it's only a small amount of rooms. It's really, really super simple. But the way that I kind of recall things using it is I imagine it in different time periods. So I have like the 50s log cabin, I have the 60s log cabin, the 80s log cabin. That one's got a lot of neon lights and stuff in it, and that's the way that I get around it, only being a small space. When I was a bit younger, I used to use my mother's house as a Mind Palace, and that was the way that I remembered things, and it was always really... when I first got into that stuff, I really enjoyed the visualization aspect of it. And it's like, okay, close your eyes. The first thing I see on the left is the door. The first thing I see straight ahead is the staircase. And to my right, there's a mirror. There's a radiator underneath the mirror. And the visualization aspect is really fun. Yeah, I just absolutely love that. Paul says, you mentioned in the BA pod about a paper doll placing on a playing card so they don't look at the card. I do the same thing with a Lego character. Oh, sweet. Yeah, that was Homunculus, which was an ebook that I posted, a PDF that I posted maybe a week or 2 or 3 ago. Time is meaningless. It is a construct. I can't remember. It was called Homunculus, and it was just like a little Play-Doh character, but it was made out of white tack. and I'd make it on the spot whilst telling the story of a homunculus, what they, where they came from, how they are created. Depending on the age range of the audience, I would maybe go deeper into exactly how a homunculus is created from the lore, or I would just kind of leave it out and be like, oh, it's like a fun little lab assistant that alchemists used to create. But that's cool. Yeah, there's a couple of different approaches to it. I know Lloyd's mentioned one with a little miniature racing car. If any of you are fans of James Keatley, I'm a huge fan of James Keatley, one of the nicest guys in Magic. He has a really, really fun version of that kind of effect featuring this little character he's got. I like using it for really simple effects. I like using it for ambitious card, and then just placing it on top of the deck, or having someone place it on top of the deck and just leaving the room, having everyone put their ears against the door and trying to see if they can hear anything. And then when they go back in the room and when they lift up the deck, this little homunculus, my little friend, has taken the card that was lost in the middle of the deck and put it back on top, which I just find super fun. There are certain effects like that they're my bread and butter, because that is social and casual and just super, super fun. Rupert says, have you ever done any magic plots related to Blair Witch Project? I'm thinking some weird bundles of sticks would be right up your street. Well, it is funny you should mention that. No, I haven't done anything related to the Blair Witch Project. I've done plenty of projects related to witches and witchcraft that have been inspired by the Blair Witch Project. And when I was talking about my Mind Palace, kind of the cabin approach that I use, that cabin in Norway, when I'm going to find the picture for you now. When I was there the last time, because I've been there a few times with partners or friends and stuff, one of the last time, I think it was the last time I was there, we rented out this absolutely gorgeous log cabin. And my favourite little hobby, whilst we didn't have much to do there apart from drink beer, make big massive stews all day on the hob, just potatoes, sit round, play games with knives, which is very dumb, and it's why I've got a lot of scars on my fingers, and chop wood. And the other thing, my favourite hobby whilst I was there, and I will find these pictures, was to make the little Blair Witch doll, the little stick figure from the Blair Witch Project, and I would hang it up on the trees around the log cabin, just hoping so hard that the next people who rented it out were absolutely terrified because of what they saw. I've got the pictures somewhere, I'm sure of it. I have to have them. Okay, this isn't a very good picture. This is a screenshot from an old... Oh, no, I found it. Okay. You should be able to see that. Wait there. Yeah, so I used to make a lot of the little figures and hang them from trees in the woods and stuff. Matt says, maybe you can talk a bit how you approach scripting to elicit specific memories or order of events of an effect in the participant. Maybe I will talk about that, Matt. Maybe I will. If anyone is a member of the Real Underground, they know that I spend a decent amount of time bringing up narrative and story. Stuff like Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces, the hero's journey, the archetypal elements of a story. And I think that I've always been of the opinion that we can use these archetypal elements to hook participants, to almost give them a sense that they know what is happening. They know that a story is being told, but they don't necessarily know where the story is going, so to speak. And so when I script an effect, I try and include elements from stuff like screenplay writing or story writing. I include moments. That's what I try and do. I don't always manage to do it, but this idea of maybe the moment in the hero's journey when they kind of enter another universe. They're entering it's the turning point. Little moments that are used in the structure of a story, I try and just use some of them because they're moments that people recognize and that they can hold on to. In Save the Cat by Zack Snyder, a book on screenplay writing, the central premise, the central thesis of that is this idea of save the cat. And it's in the first, 2 or 3 pages of a story. Whoever the hero is has to save a cat because that shows you that they are the hero. That means your heart goes out to them. You recognize that they are a force of good. This person saved a cat. Obviously, it doesn't necessarily mean the person has to save the cat. It just means what is another way of showing this, whether that is in the first couple of minutes of a rom-com, the good guy he buys coffee for someone else, that's saving the cat. And when you pay attention to these storytelling elements, these kind of the structures that have went back for years and years that have worked for people, I think they can work for magicians too, even if you're only using small elements of them. When I approach scripting, the first thing I will usually do if I have an effect in mind is, what is the log line? What is the tagline? What is the one sentence that you can describe this effect as? Very often I fail at this, which is a weakness in part on the structure of some of my more wordy effects. But when an effect is snappy, when there is a bit of punch to it, you can describe it in, one sentence, a couple of words. And if you can define it in a couple of words, that will usually mean it is memorable. That means that the participant can define it in a few words when they go and tell their friend. They can say, this is what happened, very comfortably. They don't have to say, well, he took this wallet and then he made me write something down and then he made me spin round a few times and then this other thing disappeared, but then he picked up a card that was under a shoe, and as opposed to just saying, I picked a card, it got lost into the middle of the deck, and then somehow it was back at the top of the deck. The simpler the logline for me means that it's going to be more effective. It's going to be more memorable. But that doesn't necessarily translate to the scripting side of things. With the scripting, I will go overboard at the start. I will write down way too much, and it's because I'm trying to make it, I'm trying to make it dramatic and theatrical, I guess. Over time, after 2 or 3 little test runs, whether that is with another magician, whether that is with a partner, whether that is with just a random person in the pub, after 2 or 3 test runs, you notice the parts of the script that need to go, and I will scrub those, just naturally scrub those, and then I work on how can I heighten the parts of the script that are left. How can I make them sound better? How can I make them sound more memorable? Something that I don't see too many magicians thinking about is, if they're approaching it as writing a script, then is what they're saying going to be memorable? Because there is a difference between something sounding nice and something being memorable, if that makes sense. And I always think, writing a good opening line, writing a good hook it should be super evocative, because it means that person has to, they want to be invested straight away. You want them to be invested straight away. They need to just be laser focused on what it is that you are saying. And a good hook, there have been effects that I've made that have just come from, here's a good hook. I think this sounds like a good opening line. We spoke about it many, many episodes ago on the Black Art podcast, and I think that I can't remember if we were coming up with a line for something or whether it was just we were improvising on script, and I think the line was something like sailors and lighthouse keepers are very alike. They both know how to keep secrets. It was something like that. It was this is one of those, trust me bro, it was cool. It was an interesting line, and straight away Lloyd said, that's a really interesting line. That's got me hooked to the, whatever you do next, I'm on the end of your fishing rod, like, you've got me. And an opening line, a hook, I know that this goes against what I'm saying because I couldn't fully remember what I said, but you have to trust me, that's because I was in the place of the performer, maybe. an opening line that someone can remember and that they can bring to mind, a couple of days after, even a couple of hours after. If someone can still remember the opening line a few hours after, that is good. So when you test things, I don't know if other people do this as well. Usually when I test something, I ask someone, okay, so exactly what did I say to you? This is after I've got all the initial feedback. Maybe a day or two after, I'll say, what did I say to you? Can you remember what I said to you? And if they can remember what I said to them, then I know that the lines were really good because it's stuck in their mind. It was these, barbed hooks that just latch onto your brain. And if they can remember the lines and the effect was good, I consider that a success. I consider that good scripting. But at the end of the day, it doesn't always come down to the script, right? I preach about it as often as possible because I think it does. But as much as I like scripting, someone who comes out and just does some amazing cardistry, someone who doesn't speak, a mime, will sometimes be telling the better story. And I guess that's kind of like the scripting of the performance. It's the choreography. It's the structure of how you're presenting an effect. I don't want to ramble too much about story though, because I genuinely will. This would be a 7-hour live stream, me talking about story. If anyone has any questions whatsoever, I do realise that there is 5 people here, but if anyone does have any questions, feel free to jump in, even if it is just about asking if this is a vape or asking about my humidifier. Although it's not a humidifier, it's I can't remember what they're called. Whatever it is. Also, if anyone has got any conventions this year that they're going to, please let me know, because so far I haven't really planned out any conventions for the rest of the year. There's been a few that have caught my eye. There've been like one-day conventions and smaller conventions that are more north-based that I've been interested in, but I haven't been to any. I haven't planned any yet. Same as last year. I think that I'll be going to South Tyneside this year. I was supposed to be going with Lloyd as the Black Art podcast, but I don't know if that's happening. I don't fully know what the deal is with that yet, so I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty sure I'll be going to South Tyneside again. But if anyone has got any other suggestions, please let me know, because I absolutely love conventions. Any tats you want to talk about, says Matt. I don't know, dude. Half of the tattoos that I've got on my body are ones that I've stupidly done myself. All of my legs are full of really dumb tattoos to do with, video games and spooky ghosts and stuff. There's a tattoo I've got on my arm that is like it's disappeared, if that makes sense. It's like a scar. So it was it's like a ghost tattoo. It's half gone. Not half gone, but it's like you can barely see it. By design, it's a rabbit in a hat. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. This one, people like this one on my hand. That's Alexander Herman. If anyone who is into old magic with lots of ditching and body loading and stuff, then they'll know who Alexander Herman is. And Rupert says, what's your top 5 favourite effects of all time? That is a hardball question, dude. That is the hardest question ever. It's always fluctuating. There's it depends. It'd have to be categorized, I think. Whether it was the top 5 effects of all time that I actually perform, or the top 5 effects of all time that I like to see on stage or see another performer perform. Top 5 effects. I would not know where to start with that, because there's too many. There are effects that I love and that I know that I will always love, or plots or premises or storylines that I will always love, but I get really, really anal when it comes to top 5 lists and stuff like that. I can't do it. I will fall down a rabbit hole and just be unable to categorize, and I'll have 17 subcategories about top 5 in this case. Top 5 that I've performed, right? Okay, that makes it a little bit more interesting. Although I can't, you know what? I can't do it. I can't name my own effects because that is a bit egotistical. Top 5 effects that I have performed. You know, I know that it's kind of simmered down a little bit now, although the update has made some increased conversation around it. But Enigma for me, literally the second or third day after I had purchased Enigma, I'd been talking to Christian like the week before we went for breakfast, and we were going through some stuff, and I performed it. I tested it out maybe 2 or 3 times, and it went well. This is funny watching me squirm. Oh, well, thanks a lot, Rupert. I really appreciate that. Like the third night I had it, I performed it on about 40 people at a student party. And it was like super last minute. I'd been asked to help out at a party in the city centre. And I performed Enigma for literally like 40 people. Just going around tables. And I was always using that to test it, to get better at it. And kind of throwing yourself into the flames, and whilst you're still learning it, almost, I realised when I was performing it to those 40 people, this genuinely is, like, it's such a good effect. And if anyone poo-poos it, or, you know, I don't know, I feel it's very, very ignorant to say, oh no, I don't really like that, unless you've performed it a bunch, because it took me a couple of performances until I realised, you know what, this could be, like, up there. So Enigma is just, I think that was such a, I think that will be remembered like way down the line, way down the line, hundreds of years from now. Hey Ophir, how's it going? Hope you're good, man. So whether the list is a top 5 or a top 20 or whatever, I know for a fact that Enigma is there somewhere, and it is purely just because I think some people bought it, tried it a few times, and really enjoyed it, but then didn't really try it, like, over an extended period. And I think the first couple of weeks that I had Enigma, I must have tried it out about 200 times. Rupert says, maybe this could be a separate audio tape. By the way, I love Enigma. Blew some of my friends away with that. You know what, dude? To stop me from squirming, I think that I could make an audio tape to do with like top 5 or top 10 effects I've performed that I enjoy, because it would take a while for me to sift through things and kind of come up with what my top list is. I'm incapable of doing a list on the spot, because the moment that I put one there, I'll forget about another one. You know, if I listed 5, I'd realise that there was 25 others that I forgot and that I need to go through and replace. So you definitely made me squirm with that with that question. I will say that my top 5 is probably pretty simple. Even just like a 2-card transposition, I know for a fact that's there, and that's there because I very often use it as an opener. I'm not a playing card magician, but a 2-card transposition is very, very hard to beat, to get people on your side, to get them wanting to see more. And thank you for asking the questions as well. And I'm going to answer it separately properly, because I would want to put some effort into really going through the old vault and figuring out what the actual top 5 would be, what the real order of the list would be. And then the day after I put out that audio tape, I would probably want to change it straight away. I get the impression, Rupert, that you might be someone who likes to ask awkward questions that make people squirm. Lately, I've been a lot of people know that I put out like those ebooks and PDFs, and I put a lot of time into them, and the hole that I fell down at the start was almost putting too much time into them. So I would have one little effect, and I'd realise, I want to include a section about this in the booklet. I want to include like an additional effect, and I would spend so much time on them. I've managed to get to a place now where I can I can create like a nice looking, really good 15-20 page PDF and keep it fairly trim, keep it fairly slimmed down. But to further that, to get better at really honing in on what the effect is, I've been creating the past couple of weeks these one-page effects, and it's just an A4 piece of paper with the effect on it, and that's the only space I have. That's all I'm allowed. That's all I'm giving myself. And I've been having a lot of fun, like every 3 or 4 days, just coming up with a new one and testing it out, seeing if it works, and then seeing if I can write it up really succinctly. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm literally just filling the space because Rupert, thank you for asking more questions. You're really helping me. As people who've watched like any kind of lecture or anything of mine know, when I'm just talking to myself, I ramble on about nothing. Like, I don't know why I was talking about that one-page effect. If I've got a bit of direction with a question every now and again, that really does help. So, when was it? It was March. Was it March or was it? Yeah, it was March. For March, I posted at least one thing every day. It wasn't technically March. It was like March 6th to like the 6th of the next month. It was 30 days, I think. I'd have to double check, but it was around about that. You know what? I found it really, really good. What's interesting to me is what happened after. See you, Fear. Take care, man. What happened after those 30 days was I lost a little bit of my energy. I lost a little bit of that ability to put together a piece of content, to write something, to film something. It felt like everything got really hard again, like everything got really complicated again in the creation process. So when it was during those 30 days, it was super easy to wake up, think in the back of my head, okay, I need to do something today. What am I going to do? Am I going to put together an ebook really quickly? Am I going to just write an essay? Usually when it was an article that I had written, that was because it was getting towards the end of the day and I hadn't filmed something or I hadn't recorded something, and it, kind of not last minute, but it was like, okay, this is what I have to do. I have to put together an article, and I have tons and tons of notes, so there's things that I know I can put together an article on, and that's where those came from. Those were the days where it was a little bit harder, or maybe I'd made half of something, so I knew I could post that the day after, but for today, I had to post this. But it was really, really interesting because I had kind of forced myself to do that. I knew that I had to do it, so it was easy to do it. And then the moment I stopped that, the moment I gave myself permission not to, and I said, you know what, I probably won't be posting every day from now on. The moment I did that, it felt like it was impossible. It was impossible to make anything. And then there was like 5 days before I posted something else. So at the moment, I'm trying not to post something every day necessarily, but if I'm able to post something, I will. At the very least, I still know that I'm posting something every few days. I think on that page it says, there's 2 effects a month. I think everyone can agree. There's probably a lot more than 2 effects a month that I end up posting on there. Whether that comes in the form of ebooks or downloads, or whether it comes in the form of audio stuff, I do need to do more of the audio things going forward. And who was it? It was Matt I was speaking to the other day as well, actually. I need to post more of the tarot course. It's just been super busy with other stuff that I've been making at the moment, but I am going to get back to that tarot course ASAP and post, maybe 1 week I'll post like a bunch of them, like 10 of them or something like that. Get them in the catalogue, get them in the backlog and get them sorted. Because I need to post more of the mystical angle of things. And thank you for anyone who has turned up to this, by the way. I am pretty bad at just talking on the spot. Myself and Judah, says Matt. I thought you were saying you were just the only 2 people who turned up, which probably it's close to the truth. Yeah, it was with you and Judah. Do you have advice for hobbyist v pros about how to gain confidence when performing to people? You know what, dude? As someone with such little confidence, I feel I would feel like a fraud giving advice, but I will try. I have very little confidence. The weird thing is, I have little confidence with people that I know. When I'm performing to a friend, my confidence seems to plummet, and I'm like, these guys know me. So they know that I'm not cool and charismatic and that I'm not magic. I mean, some of them do know me as that, which is a weird concept in and of itself. There are some friends I have who have only known me as the person who does magic. But generally, when it's someone I've known for a while, I lack very little confidence around them. I'm also a terrible performer, I think, to other magicians. That is just something that I hate. My favourite thing is performing in beer gardens, because that's kind of what I used to do when I was younger. And that's where I got the confidence, like the false confidence from. It was not necessarily approaching a table, it was making a table approach me. Like from another table, making people see something and want to come over and see something. I am... You know what? I pretend I'm a different person when I perform. I pretend I'm a very cool cucumber. I pretend that I am a wizard. I'm a magician. I'm a... Sorry about the sirens that you can probably hear out my window, by the way. I am based in Liverpool, after all. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say. But I genuinely pretend that I'm a different person. I have a character for myself that I fall into when I perform, and that helps me. It helps separate like the part of me that I know to be myself from the person who is performing. It stops me from, sweating and shaking as much. As a hobbyist, that can be... Acquiring that confidence can be hard. It's genuinely just something that it has to be drilled in just through repetition, and taking little chances can add up. So, whether you're a bar or whether you're a family event or something like that, just taking little chances can add up. Asking someone if you can show them something, and hoping that they'll go tell someone else about it who will come and ask you if they can see it. If someone asks to see something and you don't feel on the spot and you don't feel nervous, that will give you more confidence. And then, when you project it with this false confidence as well, it can help. But I feel very, very... it doesn't feel right giving advice about confidence, considering that I'm fairly open with the fact that I am a supremely unconfident person. Matt said, how did your lecture on Netrix go, and did you learn anything that you'll be taking forward? Ooh, I really enjoyed that, actually. It was kind of like... it was pretty chill. There was maybe like 10 or so people, and then a couple other people would jump in and out, and people have been watching it after the fact as well. I get messages about it every now and again. I actually need to send Craig across some PDFs, because I think I promised some of the people watching that I'd send across some stuff after the fact for them that they could use. But it was really good. I put together some things that were maybe more magic orientated, as opposed to the mentalism. Although I did play around with some mentalism on there as well. I don't know if I necessarily learned anything. I know what I might have learned was the way people ask you questions when they might not be familiar with your work was really weird. So some people would, instead of asking a question, they would be doubting that something would work, which happened once or twice in this little Netflix masterclass. Someone would say, that wouldn't work on me because I do this and I do that. And it's weird because for some of the people that were there was a little bit of a language barrier, maybe. Not necessarily a language barrier, just that English wasn't their first language. So sometimes when English isn't someone's first language, they can sound like they're being blunt when they're not. and that is just to say that they can be very direct with their questions. And what I'm learning is to try not be too affected by someone's directness when they say, well, will that work? I'm trying not to be as affected by that. Yeah. It's whether or not it's working, whether or not I'm going to be able to, I'm unsure, because I have notoriously thin skin. I've also just realised that my window is open, and that's why everything is so loud. So give me 1 second to close this window, will you? And hopefully that will make things a little bit quieter. 1 second. Right, are we still live? I don't know. I apologise about that. I don't know if you can hear me or not. So if you could let me know again, that would be perfect. When I stood up to go and close my window, then I accidentally stood on the plug for my Mac and it just went off straight away. So I think that we're still going. There was just a couple of minutes there where I had to restart the computer, so I apologise about that. If we are still going, Darren asks what my go-to peak is. You know, it changes every single day, dude. To be completely honest with you, the really simple kind of Klondike-based peak that you showed me has been a bit of a go-to lately. It's been really, really fun. I don't know why I've never thought about using that in a peak, but you know, that has been pretty much a go-to lately. The first peak I ever came up with, and I say came up with because I probably never came up with it, probably a million people have done it, would be to have the stack of billets or business cards or whatever. The card that they have something written on goes on top, and I say, in a moment I'm going to ask you to place it between your hands like this, and I want you to really close it between your hands and, you know, make sure that no one else can get to it. And when that happens, all you're going to do is take it away and keep it closed in your hands, blah blah blah. But whilst I'm doing this, I've just kind of like palmed the top card to look at it, and then it just goes back on. Yeah, just keep it flat as much as you can. I've used that quite a lot, even though it was something that I played around with when I was, you know, a teenager, I guess. I use wallet peaks a lot. I use Acidus Novus quite a lot, Acidus Globus occasionally, just because it is fun. Right. I don't know if there's anyone here anymore, so if anyone is able to say in the chat whether this is still going or whether I've messed up somehow, could you let me know? It would be super, super appreciated. I'm going to quickly check on my phone as well and see if it looks like it's still live or not. Messed up somehow. Oh. Could you let me know? It would be super, super appreciated. Yeah, it's still going. I'm going to quickly check on my phone as well and see if it looks like it's still live. We can hear you. Sorry, I'm on like 3 minutes delay as my kid stole my phone. No worries, dude. Completely get it. I appreciate you letting me know, and thank you, Matt, for saying still here. Yeah, sorry about that. Stood on the plug, turned off my Mac. Did manage to close the window, also fell over. Thank you for the reaffirmation, Rupert, as well. Rupert also said, on the BA pod, you often talk about the long game effect. Example, hiding a card in a book on someone's bookshelf. Do you plan these specifically, or do you just plant lots of seeds, hoping some will flower? That is a lovely analogy, and that's very, very true. There was an article that I posted on the Real Underground on the Patreon page a little while back, and if I find the exact... yeah, I'm okay, thank you, Matt. It's only my pride, my dignity, and a couple of body parts that are hurt. If I find the exact title of this this article, 1 second, because it broached some of the same kind of subjects that you're talking about there. It was called Hedging Your Bets. So if you look on the Real Underground, the article that was called Hedging Your Bets was about a kind of a similar subject, and it is this idea of planting lots of seeds, hoping that some will flower. I plant a lot of playing cards, or torn corners, which is another fave. If I'm at someone's house and I have a pack of cards on me, I will rip the corner of a 7 of diamonds or whatever and hide it somewhere in their house. And then at a later date, whether that is a week from now, whether that is 2 years from now, if I've hidden it somewhere well enough, if I've hidden it well enough somewhere, or I've hidden it somewhere where I think there's no way they'll ever find it, then I will perform, an angle Z routine, and the torn corner will disappear, and I'll tell them that, it's appeared back at their house somewhere. Or I'll tell them exactly where it appears, or whatever. It is something that I do a lot, and that also goes over to other effects, not just playing cards and stuff. I'm a big fan of the long con, playing the long game. But if people, I don't know, if any kind of live stream were to go forward again, and if this isn't just a one-off, I'll try and make it so it looks a little bit more visually appealing. This little overlay that I've put together, that I only did that a few hours ago. It was kind of just quickly finding something that looked interesting. The yellow was quite, it stood out quite a lot. Who's this horrible man? Lloyd Barnes, what's your favourite long con that you've performed? That is quite a good question. Well, I wouldn't want to give away too much. There are some long cons that I'm waiting to perform that I consider will be really good when they happen. One of my favourite kind of long cons is the fact that there's a shelf on my bookshelf where I know that there's a particular word that's in the same place in all of the books on that bookshelf, and that has been a bit of a lifelong project. Finding books with the same word on the same page, in the same position, so that I can have someone, pick up any of those books at some point. It's not fully fleshed out yet, but I'm hoping to eventually get a full bookshelf. And that's like the long con in my heart, is to have a full bookshelf. And you could do this through artificial means, but I like the idea that they can flick through any of those books. There is a man in sheep's clothing in the chat. Yeah, there is. The busy man himself, Lloyd Barnes. He's screwed me off from the podcast this week because he's hiding away in the jungles of Bolivia or somewhere. But my favourite long con that I've performed, that I have actually performed, what would it be? Everyone has this same story because everyone has done it, I think, at some point when you've been out with friends and you've clocked their PIN code. There's definitely a few PIN code revelations that have been, 6 months in the making. Darren said, also I'm going to carry on thinking about that, Lloyd, because I don't want to fob it off. I do actually want to think of what the actual favourite one would be, because there's been a few, some of them as well haven't actually been successful, which would be interesting subject to talk about one day maybe. Darren said, though, deep question, you travel back in time and have to remove either Corinda or Animan from history. Who are you keeping and why? Oh hell, Darren, that's good. Cruel but good. That's very right, Matt. Dude, I'd get rid of Corinda, sorry. I love I love my 13 steps as much as the next guy, but I am an Animan fanboy. I'm a fanaman. Lloyd says, my favourite of yours that you've told me about is the Italian one, but I won't spoil it if you haven't told others. No, I've spoken about that on the podcast a couple of times, I think. if that's the one you're talking about. That is just, I think someone actually mentioned it a little bit earlier. It's in a collection of Winnie the Pooh books in my friend's house in Italy. He's actually recently moved houses, but I think it's still going to be there in the same place. I need to double check. I need to go back to Italy and re-up and check. I haven't visited in longer than I'd like to. It's like my old best friend. Didn't know if my friend could possibly be listening. No, there's no way in hell he's listening, dude. He's a square. He's he works for originally he started working over there as a teacher, and then somehow he got a job in the British Embassy, and I'm pretty sure he is a spy of some kind. He's the biggest square in the world, though. He's definitely not listening to this. Is the cricket still travelling towards your brain? I totally forgot about that. I try not to think about that, and some people will shout at me for it. I still haven't got that removed because it stopped bothering me one day. And I just assumed that, it's either fell out or it's went that deep that it's never coming out. But I did find somewhere the other day that was they did like the ear cleaning stuff, and I'm going to message them and ask about it. Because they have all the right tools and stuff. And if no one knows what I'm talking about, it is there are these things called rattlers, they've had different names. It's essentially a little magnet inside a pill. I'm not giving anything away saying that. It's used in effects. I accidentally got one stuck in my ear. Lloyd forgot about that too. Go to the hospital. No, dude, I hate the hospital. It's completely fine. I can't feel it in there anymore, so it's either gone or it's in my brain. Either way, it's sorted. No, I do plan on getting it sorted soon. There's just been some other stuff lately that's bubbling away that has made me just not want to go to the hospital or leave my flat that much, to be honest. But I will eventually get it sorted. The reason I need to get it sorted is because I want to be able to travel again, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to go through airport security with the tiny metallic device embedded in my brain. Because you've started talking about that, I feel like it's going to come back now. But I genuinely can't feel it in there anymore, and I've used a magnet and can't find it, so I'm genuinely hoping that it fell out at some point. I have been swimming a few times since. It's probably the world punishing you for that effect you published with a spider. That was very creepy. Well, it was intended to be creepy. Thanks though, Rupert. Actually, speaking about Mind Spider, and speaking about Crisp, the reading system and little effect that I published a few days ago, I said that I had a additional material that was going to come out and be updated with Crisp. It's an extra 20 or 30 pages. I also have an extra 20 or 30 pages for Mind Spider if people enjoyed that effect. Maybe in the next month or two I'll be putting out. It's like when you find out that your ears click when you swallow and then you can never unhear it. Yeah. Thanks for that. I thought you were talking about my little cricket in my ear for a moment then. Or maybe you're talking about the spider, I'm not too sure. There's going to be like additional 20 or 30 pages that come out to do with Mind Spider. Some of it's stuff that Lloyd has actually contributed, just in casual conversation. He said to me, oh, but you could do this and you could do this. So there's some additional effects that you can do with Mind Spider. Some that take it from the realm of, this kind of weird influence suggestion-based mentalism into a more traditional magic trick. So that'll be exciting. I'll put that out soon, in the next month or two maybe. Although I don't like putting timelines on things because it stresses me out and I fail at the timeline. Matt said, favourite effects are Fetish, Mind Spider, and either Blind Item or The Call. Thank you so much, dude. That really, really means a lot. Fetish is a absolutely gorgeous effect, contrary to the name, which I got a little bit of flack for from a few people who weren't impressed. It means the traditional, fetish kind of a fetish, an item, like a totem. But fetish is a gorgeous effect, and I genuinely treasure every moment that I get to perform that. It's not often, I don't perform it often, but whenever I do, it's such a special little effect to me. And Mind Spider as well. I really, really enjoy Mind Spider. Mind Spider might actually be the first effect where I've had people come up to me afterwards and say that they enjoyed it, which meant a lot. Blind item as well. You've got good taste, because all of these effects that you're talking about are like my favourite effects that I've came up with. Blind item is great. Like, it's really, really fun to perform. You can do it anywhere, so long as you've got a couple of business cards or billets and a pen and a blindfold, or someone's hand across your face, or whatever it ends up being. Blind item is actually something that I perform quite a lot. Just very, very quickly, Lloyd says, I've got to go now. Please do more live streams. This is awesome. Also, Darren, let's catch up soon. Me, you, and Jake should hop on a Zoom. P.S. Mind Spider is the fucking best. Thanks, Lloyd. I appreciate you doing your due diligence as a friend and turning up for your allotted 5 minutes. It's really, really appreciated. And also, everyone who's on here is already going to be subscribed to Lloyd, but you should, if you're not, go and subscribe to his channel. Go double check that you're subscribed to Lloyd Barnes' channel, because he's literally about to hit 100k, which is the biggest thing in the world, dude. I'm super, super proud of you. You deserve it more than anyone else, man. And yes, I will try and do more live streams. Hopefully get a little bit less awkward with them, and the way that I talk on them, because I'm just speaking like a moron at the moment. Also, the call, Matt, you mentioned the call, and Rupert just said the call was great, especially the extra bit. Really, really appreciate that. The extra bit is a lot of fun, and anyone who is, only 3 people have listened to that extra bit. I think only 3 or 4 people have asked if they can listen to the work behind it, and the call is a weirdly a dangerous effect. in the wrong hands, a dangerous effect. Yeah, as this is kind of like the first little live stream, I do apologise if it's a little bit scattershot. I don't got the brain for this. People who can talk to themselves really, really confidently, just continuously without a little bit of a break, it blows my mind. I have to, I don't like being around people for too long, which is a weird thing to say for someone who enjoys performing, but I don't like being around 2 people too long, and I don't even like being around myself that long, so hearing myself talk for this long of a time is interesting. Darren says, sweet, I'm down. Going to have to head on to, as my child is going to yeet herself down the stairs unless I read a story. Talk later, dude. Yeah, dude, I'll speak to you soon, Darren. I still need to reply to your WhatsApp. You sent a voice note the other day, I think, that I forgot to reply to because I was busy. Yesterday, was it? I don't know. Time is a construct. Like Lloyd said, let's jam at some point. Definitely. Matt also said, I knew I forgot something with the call. Shit, I'll PM you later, Jake. Matt, were you not one of the people who listened to the extra bit for it? If so, yeah, definitely send me a message and I will send you across the file of the extra X-rated section of the call. But yeah, I'll see you soon, Darren. Take care, bud. And genuinely thank you anyone who has shown up. It has only been 6, 7, 8 people, but it's still been fun. It still means a lot, and I can still waffle on for at least a little bit more if anyone is interested. If anyone is interested in seeing more stuff like this as well, I'll put together more of a plan of action, more of a schedule. Matt says, I don't think so, that and Hierophant. Which one was Hierophant for? Was that for the call or was that for something else? I can't remember. You know what, I'm going to start doing more of those audio tapes where if you want to listen to the extra stuff you have to message me specifically with a code word, because that was fun. I'm going to try and start doing more of that. But I'm very, very forgetful. So apologies. The audio tapes, I've actually got quite a lot of them planned, and some of them have been half recorded. Just there's extra bits that need finishing with them. Anyone who's listened to them knows that I put a decent amount of effort into the soundscape, and yeah. This was fun, Jake. Definitely more live stream. That was for the tarot, I believe. I could be wrong. Possibly. I can't remember, dude. I'll have to double check. I'll double check what I've put out. I'll see you soon, Rupert. You take care, man. Family duties. I'm glad that you enjoyed the audio tapes and that you enjoyed this. Like I said, I will make sure it is a little bit better next time. Whether that is making sure that the overlay is nicer, more in theme with the type of content that I will be producing or talking about or anything like that. And I will make sure that I'm a little bit more prepared. Because I definitely did just jump into this like, fuck around and find out. But if everyone is getting off now, then I might myself bounce soon. One thing I did make with the overlay that I'm definitely going to be keeping is this little screen. Just because that makes me giggle so much. What I wanted to do was put my face on it instead. So I think I'll do that. But yeah, I'm going to shoot now unless anyone has any last minute questions. Rupert has a lot more questions to put me on the spot. Dude, please, I'll try and do this regularly. And I'll try and prepare more for your questions that make me squirm. But yeah, unless anyone has any other questions, I'm going to get ready to go. And if anyone has any hints about YouTube, or if anyone knows a little bit more about OBS than me, please help me. Because I am awful with it. Right. I'll speak to you soon, guys. Thank you for showing up. It really, really does mean a lot. And we'll do more of these soon. We'll do more focused stuff soon. Concentrated on some more interesting topics than just me rambling. But I'm going to bounce. You take care, everyone. Stay spooky. And stay out of trouble.